Some AFL players kick an insane number of goals to win their team the game. Others kick last-minute game winners to cement their spots in footy folklore. These are AFL players who single-handedly won their team's finals. Now, we can all agree that kicking 4 goals in one game is an impressive feat, but what about 4 goals in a single quarter to put your team into the preliminary final? Well, that's exactly what Nick Davis did in Sydney's 2005 semi-final against Geelong. Davis wasn't the greatest goal kicker across his career, but he was coming off a scoring hot streak. 12 goals in his last 3 games. And so, Sydney fans knew that something was brewing. As the game began, Nick Davis struggled. Goalless at quarter time, half time, and eventually 3/4 time. The Swans were down by 17 points to begin the 4th quarter. Geelong weren't dominating. It's just Sydney had kicked an inaccurate 3-12. The Swans needed someone who could kick straight, and that's exactly what Nick Davis delivered. For his first goal, he picked up a ground ball, ran towards the boundary and kicked a snap. Just 3 minutes later, Ryan O'Keefe bombed the ball high into the forward 50, and Nick Davis pushed off defender Joel Corey to take a simple chest mark. Davis is a set shot master, and he had a 70% set shot accuracy for the season, so of course it went through the big sticks. At this point, Sydney were only down by 9. With 5 minutes remaining, Sydney ruckman Jason Bull won the tap from a ball up right next to Sydney's goal, and a sliding Geelong player hit the ball towards Tash Kennelly, who handballed it off to Davis. Davis then fended off Geelong's Darren Milburn and kicked a high booming snap towards goal, and it somehow went through. Sydney now needed 1 goal in 5 minutes to keep their finals chances alive. With 1 minute left, Sydney's Luke Ablett punched the ball into the forward 50, not knowing the chaos that would ensue. For the next 27 seconds, Sydney players desperately tried to score, but no one could. Geelong players would pounce on any player attempting to kick the ball. Eventually, a Geelong tackle stuck, and there was a ball up with only seconds left in the game. And that's when a brilliant Luke Bull tap went straight to a sprinting Nick Davis, who fumbled the ball around and somehow got it on his boot for a quick snap. He had kicked one of the greatest goals in AFL history. There was still time left on the clock, but just 3 seconds after the ball up in the centre of the ground, the siren sounded. Nick Davis would go down as a Sydney Swans legend because after they won this game, they beat St Kilda in the preliminary final before beating West Coast by 4 points in the grand final to win the 2005 premiership. Nick Davis may have won his team the semi-final, but what about players who have single-handedly won their team the grand final? Not every player can win a game off their own boot, but some can win it in the dying seconds. Look no further than West Coast's 2018 grand final against Collingwood. Collingwood dominated early, kicking the first 5 goals of the match. However, the Eagles were able to claw their way back, reducing it from a 29-point deficit to a 15-point deficit, thanks to late goals from Willie Rioli and Josh Kennedy. The second quarter was extremely low scoring, with West Coast kicking 2 goals and Collingwood only kicking 1. At 3/4 time, the Eagles and Magpies found themselves tied at 55 apiece. Collingwood started the 4th quarter hot, with 2 goals in the first minute from Jordan De Goey and Brody Myercheck. The Eagles quickly responded and were down by only 5 points with 15 minutes remaining after a brilliant Josh Kennedy snap. West Coast would have the next 4 scoring shots, but sadly for Eagles fans, they were all behinds. But at this point, they were only down by 1 point. Cut to the 2-minute mark and the Eagles are down by 2. Jeremy McGovern bravely peels off his man and takes an amazing specky, before quickly playing on and kicking short to Nathan Vardy. Vardy then kicked it down the line and Liam Ryan took an insane gravity-defying mark. And the awkward landing didn't stop him from ripping the ball out of Tom Langdon's hands and sprinting away. Now up until this point, Dom Sheed had played extremely well, finishing the game with 32 disposals, which was only topped by Luke Shuey's 34. But Dom Sheed had never been a goal kicker up until this point. Coming into this game, Sheed had only kicked 7 goals for the entire 2018 season. But he found himself in the right spot at the right time. Liam Ryan kicked a long ball in, and Dom Sheed ran back courageously, eyes only for the footy, and took a spectacular overhead mark. Now was his chance to put himself into the AFL history books. And that's exactly what he did.
Sheed from the boundary needs to be inch perfect. He is! He's got the most impossible goal!
The stuff of legends. Was Braden Maynard shepherded out of the contest by Rioli? That's for you to decide. Subscribe.